All right. So let's take a look at what's on the front page of the dailies here. With me, I have the Star newspaper. On the front page, state to cut varsities funding. That's according to CS Ukur Yatani. State to cut varsities funding. CS Yatani. He says that state will no longer continue funding universities to the tune they desire. He says that state will no longer continue funding universities to the tune they desire. That is on the front page of the Star there. And of course, there's a picture there showing it's back to school and parents are up shopping for the books. And again, on the front page, Ruto in 8-county campaign bleeds in first week of poll year. DP William Ruto has lined up a series of campaign rallies in 8 counties in the first week of January. He will return to ODM leader Raila Odinga's backyard, that is in Migori County, on Sunday to residents to back his presidential bid. In Migori, DP will camp in Kuria sub-county, an area that has been restive as the rest of Nyanza votes for Raila. I'll give you more details shortly on his itinerary there. Deadly sand mines. Mining lures men, women and children, and it is now reported that sand miners Nicholas Wasolo, who is 20 years old, says that his job is complex, orders and deadly. And the story continues to say that most of these people lack even proper protective gear. The only thing they have is a djembe and a spade, and that actually puts their lives in imminent danger. All right, deep connection between former AG Njonjo and Liki. The two gentlemen died on Sunday, and both men who had a close friendship into their old age died the same day. Of course, Njonjo was interred on Sunday in a family affair. Charles Njonjo said that in 2015 media interview that conservationist Richard Leakey was the only person apart from himself and his immediate family that he trusted. He died at the age of 101, and the story continues therein. You can take a look at that story. It's fleshed out there for you. And according to IMLU, that is Independent Medical Legal Unit, police executed 87 people and tortured 27 people last year. Some 114 people were either killed or endured torture in the hands of the police in 2021. Independent Medical Legal Unit's report shows that 87 people were allegedly extrajudicially, summarily and arbitrarily executed by the police, while 27 were tortured. This, it says, that was the worst data recorded since 2010, when the current constitution came into force. That is something that has to be taken care of by the Independent Police and Oversight Authority. CS Yatani finally says that universities to raise their own money. Universities are headed for tougher times as the state plans to further reduce funding. CS, that is for Treasury, Ukur Yatani, said that the state will no longer continue to fund universities to the tune they desire. And he says that the National Treasury is in a cautionary message, said that the institutions must think, quote unquote, outside the box to fund their operations. CS Yatani said that the government cannot continue to shoulder the heaviest burden, 80% of the training institutions. He said that the universities must now consider increasing tuition fees, say from the current 40,000 shillings per year to about 100,000 shillings per year. The CS further said that the increase would be to match up the market price of training a student. For example, he said that with students paying about 40,000, who is absorbing all the other costs? That's the question he said, and he asked. It is the government. That is why it is not sustainable, according to him. So it's going to be having that trickle down effect to, to the parents and even people who are actually surviving on the HELB loan. Remember, there is also that debacle about the HELB loans, whether it should be a grant or continue to be a loan. That is also a story that is still being discussed across the corridors here. And moving forward, it's most likely going to be a tough one for both parents and guardians and even students who pay their own school fees. All right. And finally, on something that we'll be discussing later on in the hour, Ruto Musalia on verge of sealing deal. Pact is likely to tip the race to succeed President Kenyatta into a two-horse showdown pitting DP and Raila. I will give you more details in the next hour and as well as we continue with this particular program. Regina.
I have the Standard as well as the Daily Nation. Let me just skim over the front page of the Daily Nation. So we have a special here, and this is a special tribute to Njonjo, the late Charles Njonjo there, and how Raila made up with Njonjo. That's the kicker and the header of the main read this morning, being the 4th of January 2022 there. ODM leader Raila Odinga was a detainee in 1984 when he gave damning testimony to a judicial commission that was investigating treason charges leveled against former powerful attorney General Charles Mogane Njonjo, precipitating his mighty fall from grace. Now, fresh interviews now shed light on how the two later buried the hatchet and why Mr. Odinga has his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, to thank for. Now, this particular story has made it to the front page of the Daily Nation this morning and has equally been fleshed out on a two-page read on this particular daily this morning. And captured there is none other than former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and the former Attorney General during this 50th anniversary memorial service at the Thomas Joseph Mboye of Thomas Joseph Mboye at the Holy Family Basilica in Nairobi. This particular photo was taken in 2019. The story further is fleshed out about, how Raila and the late Njonjo interacted there. In a nutshell, Mr. Odinga testified against Sir Charles Njonjo. Information from the court-martial that tried Air Force officers implicated an attempt to overthrow President Daniel Moi's government revealed that two coups were being plotted. One by the renegade Air Force of officers and another by Njonjo. So the Njonjo coup was to happen on August 1st, 1982. Then this is according to how Mr. Raila Odinga then testified before a Miller-led commission. The Air Force One was scheduled for August 9th, 1982. However, when the Air Force men learnt of Njonjo's coup plan, they decided to redate their famous failed coup to August 1st, 1982. Now, this is a whole story about what happened between the late Sir Charles Njonjo, who passed on, and the former Prime Minister there. It seems that they buried the hatchet, according to this particular, story that has been captured on the front page as well, and it's totally fleshed out on 2 pages of this particular daily this morning. So you can get to read more. Going back to the front page, we also have a tribute to Richard Leakey there, who, going back, his family was deeply involved in the search for clues on Aliman, and it turned out the hobby now became a career, and all eyes are set on matters politics, with an expected showdown between MPs once again for a 3-day special sitting in Parliament is to take place tomorrow, so to speak. According to Deputy President William Ruto, he argues that a section on the registration of coalition of parties is designed to aid ODM leader Raila Odinga in the presidential race. Is it? Victor is going to be fleshing it out in a candid conversation as we talk matters politics. Further on, back to school. It is January the 4th. So parents faced with fees burden, and parents with children in schools that suffered arson attacks, more to precisely, last year during the wave of violence. Remember, these students are expected, other than just the school fee, to report to school with monies to cater for the damages incurred. We're going to be keeping tabs on that this week, seeing, how this affects the transport sector and such, as well as how teachers and learners are taking it with the country's positivity rate currently standing at 30.6%. Copy of the Standard, sneak peek, skimming through. Matters of politics take center stage in this particular daily. Raila-Ruto sweet deal in vote hunt. This was a conversation there with ODM leader in Kakamega County while Deputy President was in Trans Nzoia. According to the Deputy President's diary, he is going to be in Kakamega and Bungoma today. Matters of security, manhunt is on for Lamu attackers who killed 6. Matters of that showdown that I mentioned, matters of coalition bill is set. We are all going to be focused on what is going to be happening in the back camera of Parliament. Then, President Uhuru Kenyatta, during his speech in October 20th, he promised Kenyans, Wanjiko, you and I, that the cost of power is going to come down in December. Has it? Well, a report here indicates that it hasn't come down and has actually gone up despite the pledge. So what went wrong? Matters of school also find themselves on the front page of the Standard this morning. Tough year for parents and learners as costs and fees go up. In a nutshell, that's what we have on the front page of the Standard as well as the Daily Nation. Doreen.
Perhaps you can begin on that political note, and it's just continuing to ask that question, the Musalia Mudavadi factor, and now his allies are divided on his election options, where political pundits now say, key point that is Dismas Mukua, who argued that ANC boss Musalia Mudavadi has 2 options. Either to dismantle the 2-horse race narrative, which is now being turned between the former premier, that is Raila Odinga, and the Deputy President William Ruto, or reposition his presidential candidature. So if that happens, what next for him, or what will his position be? That is the question there. This also comes at a time where it's just 8 months to the general elections. Which way or what position will he take? Now, even as we talk about elections and it being just 8 months away, in addition to the 3 county bosses, the 3 women county bosses that have been there for the period between 2017 up until now, 20 more are now in that race for this particular elections. And now, according to Olive Gashara, she says that women have now become bolder to challenge their male counterparts in that gubernatorial seat, more bolder and more inspired to challenge their male counterparts. So these are just 20 more women who have declared their gubernatorial bid come this year's general election, being termed as the women of steel who are now setting their eyes on the governor's seat. And even as we talk about the itinerary of the deputy president, he just continues to say that we need not to allow the country to be micromanaged by a few individuals, yet Kenyans have a democratic right to decide their leaders in the competitive electoral process. This comes after he returned back to the rallies and addresses to continue to popularize his presidential bid, even as he prepares for talks with potential coalition partners. Which coalition partners are this? Is Musalia Mudavadi one of them, even as we talk about the Musalia Mudavadi factor, the Musalia Mudavadi question? The same stories that you just mentioned there, Regina, on the Standard, where the 6 killed in a cowardly morning Lamu attack. And now the question is, what was the motive behind this particular attack? Why did it happen? This is just a story of what happened yesterday in Lamu County, the 6 who were killed. And just to read a bite is that one of the victims, a male adult who is also a village elder at that particular place, was also killed. And this is actually a very matured village elder. And the question is, what exactly was the motive behind this killings of these 6 persons in Lamu County? And also, motorists cry foul over perennial traffic jams. This is at Maimahiu. And now what these 2 county bosses, that is Nakuru and Narok county bosses, that is Lee Kinyanjui and Samuel Tunai, are now challenging the government to expand that particular road. That is the Maimahiu road. Remember that this is one of those very key instrumental roads being used by those that head over to the western part of Kenya. Also being a very key instrumental road when it comes to the economic growth of this country, especially when it comes to the transportation of goods from those areas and even beyond the country coming to the city, and from the city going to those areas. So oftentimes, especially during the festive season, early January, and even just mid-year, oftentimes there's really heavy kind of traffic on this particular stretch. And now this is why the county bosses are urging the government to also prioritize this road, even as there's that continued construction and expansion of most of the roads in the city, and even beyond, there's that cry to expand in this. And also this comes at a time after a lot of truck drivers have complained on how their goods, especially the perishable ones, how they just get to go bad because of the many hours spent on the roads due to traffic, and also the amount of money that most of these traders end up losing just because of being on traffic being on traffic for very long hours. And now there's there's message from the WHO Director General, that is Tedros, who says that he has a New Year's resolution to the world to end COVID. You really want to keep up to just try and see what exactly he has for the world as it pertains to ending COVID-19. And lastly, coast hotels reap big as Kenya celebrate Christmas and New Year. You can remember that this was the worst, or better still, the hard hit kind of space or area, that is the tourism sector. But it just looks that comparing 2020 and 2021, most of the hoteliers and those the tourism sector say that this was a remarkable year. They were able to reap big, and they've also outlined what exactly made them do that, and perhaps what they need to continue doing to ensure that this continues to become a profitable business and a key area of sector to make more money for also the growth of our economy as a country.
All right. So, still on the political scene here. Ruto Musalia Mudavadi on verge of sealing deal. Pact is likely to tip the rest to succeed President Kenyatta into a two-horse showdown pitting DP and Raila. This is something that we had a discussion here last year, but I think for the sake of political scene that is now we are in right now, we are going to have that discussion in the next hour. The deal will also sound a death knell to One Kenya Alliance that was billed as a third force. So that is a story that we are going to go into details in the next hour, so you don't have to miss that. DP Ruto in 8-county campaign bleeds in first week of election year. The DP started his campaign in Trans Nzoia, where he had addressed rallies at 10 different locations. And he will return to ODM leader Raila Odinga's Migori backyard on Sunday to residents to back his presidential bid. And Kuria is one of the area that resisted the strong ODM wave in 2013 and elected a Jubilee candidate when the whole region was painted orange. So the DP started his New Year campaign on Monday in Trans Nzoia County. He addressed huge rallies at 10 different stops. And this is going to be, his visit actually comes in the backdrop of reports of behind-the-curtain talks with ANC boss Musalia Mudavadi and Ford Kenya Moses Wetangula. As I promised, you don't have to miss that particular discussion. Now, how Uhuru Raila plot to crush Tanga MPs on political parties bill. So Kieleweke legislators are banking on the Speaker's directive to vote electronically. And MPs are headed for yet another showdown from Wednesday as they begin the third round of debate on the controversial Political Parties Amendment Bill of 2021. Both sides have been strategizing rather on how to carry the day when the House resumes for a 3-day special sitting after two similar processes ended in disarray with little progress. So a well-coordinated but outnumbered Tanga MPs has now succeeded in frustrating the coalition bill in the last two special sittings, but then now all attention now focuses on what will happen on Wednesday. So on that note, let's take a break, and when we come back we still have more on the other side. We'll be right back.